Hey, what is up, Internet? Kyle here, Slapshot Toys, doing just a little bit of a different video today. I've been seeing a lot of questions online about different display options with display cases and how to light them and all sorts of things like that. So I thought I'd just do kind of a quick little tutorial, rundown, how-to, if you will, of how I personally set up my display cases. So I'm going to show you the exact display cases that I buy, where I buy them. I'm going to show you what lighting I use, where I buy that, and I'm going to show you actually how I wire it through the cases and make it look really nice and clean. And here's just a real quick example of how I set up my display cases with the lighting. So if you like the look of that setup, make sure you go ahead and watch the rest of this video because I'm going to show you exactly how I wire everything. I do have to go by, as you can see, there's a blank space right here, and I have a bunch of figures just sitting here that I need to put in that display case, so I got to go buy a new one anyway. So let's go get a new display case. Alright guys, so I just pulled into IKEA. Yes, IKEA. That is where I buy my cabinets. It's called the Detolf cabinet. And honestly, it is the absolute best bang for your buck. They are amazing cabinets, really easy to put together, and they display your figures or collectibles or action figures, whatever you want to call them, whatever you have to display. They display them wonderfully. So as you can see here, I don't know if you can actually see it, but yeah, IKEA. So I am lucky. I do have an IKEA about 10 minutes from my house. I know a lot of people probably don't have IKEA, but if you do, or even if it's a couple hours away, honestly, it's worth the trip if you're going to buy a couple of these because they are amazing cabinets. So yeah, you can have them shipped from their website, but I want to say the shipping is like $80. It's something outrageously expensive. So unfortunately, it's probably not as cost effective to have them shipped, but this is where I buy my cabinets, so let's go in and get one. Alright, so here we are actually at the shelving, and this is what I buy. So this is the Detolf $59.99. It just comes like so. So we got to figure out where it's at in the warehouse. So aisle 1, bin 47. And you got to go grab one from the warehouse. You don't know how IKEA works. It's all in a big warehouse. So this is what you're looking for if you come to IKEA. I said $59.99, can't beat it. Okay, now as far as lighting, you can buy some here at IKEA. These are the deodor lights. They come in just the white, and they also come in these LED ones where you can actually change the color. So this little control panel here, $34.99 and $24.99. These work well if you're already at IKEA and you don't want to go anywhere else. Just for me, the color ones are really cool, but $34.99. The white ones, I don't really care about the color. I just want the white. And the white honestly aren't as bright as the ones that I purchase. So I actually buy mine at other places, but as you can see, there's an on-off switch. So it works really well. But so if you're at IKEA and you don't want to go anywhere else for lighting, you can buy these for $24.99. It comes with all 4 strips, so you'll have 1 strip for each shelf. All right, so this is the actual warehouse. So this is where you actually get your stuff. You don't actually get it up in the shopping area. So here we are, we find basically your bin. So we have the Detolf. This is aisle 1. I forget where it actually says 47. Oh yeah, bin 47. So aisle 1, bin 47. And there are white ones, so there's a little sticker that will indicate what color it is. I use the black brown, and then it's actually 2 boxes go to 1 shelf. So make sure if you're buying these, you get both boxes. They will remind you actually up at the front, but you want to get both boxes. So this is what we need. So let's go ahead and grab them, and let's go get some lighting. All right, so to get lighting, I actually come to Home Depot. So I am at my local Home Depot right there. So let's go get some lighting. All right, so I'm out of Home Depot and actually back home, as you can tell from my surroundings. So they were doing like a lot of like restocking and like reconfiguring of the lighting area at my local Home Depot. So I didn't really show you guys where they're at just because it was an absolute mess and there was like a ton of workers all around. But this is what I pick up. So this is the commercial electric 4-pack LED strip kit. So this is $29.95, I think, so basically 30 bucks. You get the 4 strips, and then here on the back you get all sorts of different wires and connectors, and this works extremely well for the Detolf cases. So this is the light strips that I buy every single time. You should be able to find these at any Home Depot. Every Home Depot I've been in has had these. So yeah, this is the light strips that I use and I highly recommend if you don't get the ones from IKEA. So really the next step is I have my boxes here from our Detolf. Just got to open those up and start putting it together. It's pretty simple to put together. It says use 2 people. I can usually do it by myself. So yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and get started on that. So cue the time lapse. The time that I turned 16, I got a car, no place to be. so now we have our completed Detolf shelf and looking really nice. So now we just got to install the lights. All right, so I've unboxed our lighting. So we should have these 4 LED strips. These are a nice like rubbery material. They bend a lot, so they work very, very well installing them into the cases. They just connect together with these little kind of prongs. So see if I get that to focus. These little prongs here, and on the other side you have this little port of 4 holes, and that just goes with all the connecting wires right there. So, and then they just stick on the back. They have 3M self-adhesing tape already on the back of the strip, so that works very nicely. And once again, we have our connecting wires. There are 4 different sizes, and I'll get more in depth into how we install those. And then we have our power supply. I know this is going to be a really dumb step, but just a reminder, make sure that you check all the LED strips in and outlet before you put them in the cabinet, just in case if one of them doesn't work and you have to take it back to the store, you don't have to try to rip it off the cabinet. So now I'm starting the actual installation process. So first thing I do is decide what side I want to put the actual power supply wire going into the cabinet. So I always use the actual magnetic side where it's actually where it opens. If you take a look here, if I close this door, there's not really a whole lot of room there to feed the wires through, and you definitely don't want them getting caught up in the actual door where it swings open. So I always use this side. What I do is I take our power supply cord right here. I just feed this, kind of hard to do with one hand, but I just take our plug here that goes into the light, just feed it through the wire right here, or through the frame. Slide that through like so, and this frame moves quite a bit, so you can get it in there pretty easily. But just get that through, and then we should be good to go to start our lights. All right, so I just removed the sticky backing here on our first LED strip. So what I usually like to do is I usually put it about, I don't know, 1/4 of an inch, maybe a little bit less to the side. I like it pretty close to the side of the shelf. And I just go ahead, line it up, make sure it looks fairly even according to the frame before I really press it on there. And once it all looks good, I'll just apply some pressure. As you can kind of see, the tackiness of the adhesive actually kind of adhering to the glass right there, and that cool color change. So what I do is I will just give it a real nice firm press all throughout, but I'll leave the sides pretty kind of floppy. That way we can kind of move them around to be able to plug in the wires as we need to. And then you'll probably want to keep pressing this throughout this installation process. And once again, at the very end, just give it a really firm press. That way it really sticks to the glass. The other thing to watch out for is make sure that you do have the correct prong side or the port side on the correct side, depending on where you want your wires. So starting it off, you want the prong side due to the main power supply is this port. So this will just plug into those prongs right there. So that is our first LED strip. So let's go ahead and get the next 3 set up. All right, so I have our 4 LED strips all stuck here on the Detolf cabinet. So we are ready to do the wiring. So this is where this set is a little bit different than the IKEA set, and honestly, maybe a little bit more difficult to install the wiring. But because of the brightness of the LED bulbs, I do like this one a little bit better, even though this is a little bit weird. So what we get are actually 2 long sets of the connecting wires. We get 1 short set that actually splits off into 2. And then we also have this really, really super small connector. We won't use the super small one at all. But there's a specific way to minimize the slack we need to hide behind the frame. So I'm going to show you how I actually configured this wiring with these 2 long ones and this small splitter. All right, so first, obviously our first connection is going to be the power supply. So that just connects here to this first lower LED strip. Just connects right there. Now, one thing you can do, I choose not to, you can have it go over this part of the frame. I just don't think it's that necessary because I just put a zip tie to help tie it right here. That seems to hold it pretty well. Now, don't be alarmed when before you have them all zip tied, the weight of the on and off switch is going to just keep pulling off the LED strip. Don't worry, it's gonna stay once we actually get everything all tied in. All right, so the second part we're gonna do is we're actually gonna take one of the longer connector wires. We're gonna plug that in here to the first shelf here at the bottom, and we're gonna run this all the way up. We're gonna bypass the second shelf, and we're gonna run it all the way up here to the third shelf. As you can see, I have this plugged in here, and I actually do go over the frame there just to give it a little bit more support. And I know it probably doesn't take off a whole lot, but just take a little bit more off the slack of the wire that we have to hide. So you can see here, once again, we go all the way down from the first shelf, run the long wire all the way up to the third shelf. And the next step we're gonna do is actually just take the smaller splitter wire, the one that actually has the 2 ports coming out of it, and we're gonna run this from the top or third glass shelf all the way up here to the very roof LED strip. So what we'll do is you'll actually have one little wire and port just hanging, but we'll hide that here in a second. So once again, you just take the smaller splitter wire, run that up to the roof LED strip. And the last wiring step is we actually go ahead and take the last and second of the longer wires. We run this from the roof LED strip all the way back down to the second glass shelf here and plug it in there. That way, once again, you just kind of remove some of the slack. As you can see, there's a lot of slack still, but overall, so what we do is we start with our power supply here, just run that to this first bottom shelf. Once again, you just kind of want to thread through the on-off switch through the wire frame. Coming up here, you then run the first long connector wire up here to the third glass shelf, connect that in here. The LED strip will just come over here. You then will take the splitter wire, the shorter wire, just run that to the roof LED strip. That'll come over here, and then what you'll do is you'll just run the second long connector wire all the way down to that second glass shelf and plug it in there. And then that should give us light to all 4 shelves. So as you can see, it looks really good. Now we just got to clean up the wiring. All right, so the last step that we have is to hide the wiring behind the frame. And I use these 4-inch cable ties. I like to use these clear white ones, whatever you want to call them. I think that they actually work pretty well with hiding the wires against the frame, and they're not very noticeable. So this is what I like to use. And what I actually do, as you can see here, I've already got 2 started, is I will actually zip tie them at different points to make sure that they lock against the frame and just kind of hide the wire. As you can see, like this little section right here, if you're looking straight on, you can't see the wire. And I will do that throughout the whole frame. When I'm dealing with the on-off switch, what I really like to do is just put one here on top, basically kind of pull it down so the wire is nice and flush and tight behind that frame. And I also like it to have the back of the on-off switch to be able to just kind of rest against the frame. That way it looks pretty clean. You don't really notice it, and you can just reach in really easily when you open up the door and flip it on and off. That's just personally how I like to have it set up, but you could have it anywhere up and down this frame right here. All right, so how I deal with the major slack from the longer connector wires. So as you can see here, this is the third shelf. So this is the one we went all the way from the second to the third. What I do is I actually put a twist tie here right at the top, right where I want it to basically start going down the frame. Once I actually get down here to where it connects here to the first glass shelf, what I do is I actually get all the slack, kind of pull it out, pull it down, so that way don't pull it too tight, otherwise you're going to just basically pull down that zip tie, but make sure it's very kind of nice, flush, and tight against the back of the frame. Once you actually get this nice little loop right here, what you'll want to do is just kind of pinch it together, and we're going to put a zip tie right around it. So once it's done, it should look something like this. We just have our little loop coming down here, just a little zip tie to keep it kind of tight against the frame, and this one just to kind of pull the loop together. And then we should just have it kind of running behind the frame all the way up to our third shelf. There's our little anchor zip tie up here. As of right now, I don't worry about putting any more zip ties up and down this frame because we're actually going to have to run the long one down as well. So I will do that actually once we get that, so we can tie them both together to the back of the frame. Once I get to the splitter wire, I just anchor here the third LED strip on the third glass shelf, and we just kind of go straight up. The little kind of splitter right here, I just put a zip tie on top and bottom. That way it just holds it nice in place against the back of the frame. And then what we do is we actually just take both wires, run them up together, put another zip tie up here. The one obviously will connect into our LED panel. The other one will actually just kind of sit nice and flush there against the top of the frame. So when you're looking kind of straight on, you don't really see them at all. All right, and the last wire we got to take care of is the last long connector. And once again, we're gonna have a lot of slack on this one, so we'll have to do kind of the little loop method again. What I do is I put an anchor right here on the second glass shelf, put an anchor right there just so it holds nice and snug as you're pulling the slack down, and then just put an anchor up here at the very top, and then the wire will run down the frame. So once again, same method as the very first long connector we did. Just make a little loop down here, pull it really nice and tight so everything's against the frame, and we're just gonna put our zip ties down here to hold it in place. All right, so once we have that all zip tied together, really it's just up to you. I just put a couple kind of throughout here that actually hold both of the longer wires together. That way, kind of if you look at the frame, they just run up along the side, and it just really kind of holds them nicely in place. You're gonna have a couple little wires kind of sticking out here and there, but it doesn't look too bad. And you can kind of add zip ties wherever you want, just to kind of hold a little bit more in place, depending on how much you really don't want wires showing. But I think this one actually looks pretty daggone good. So the only thing we have to do now is just cut off the zip ties. All right, all the twist ties have been cut off, and this is our completed Detolf cabinet with lighting. The only thing we have left to do is get it into place and get some collectibles. All right, and here is the final product here, actually with the figures inside. And as you can tell, the case and the lighting just really make these figures pop. Any collectible you put in here, the lighting's just gonna bounce off very, very nicely. And honestly, for $90, I don't think you can get a better setup that looks this nice, this clean. And yeah, just an absolute gorgeous option to display your collectibles. All right, guys, so that is gonna do it for my little video of how to set up and light a Detolf. Once again, thank you guys for watching these videos. Really does mean a lot to me. I hope you guys found this informative. I hope you guys were able to find some information or some techniques of ways to help display and enjoy your collection even more. So let me know in the comments if you guys found this video helpful, if you guys actually use the same lights or cabinets or anything that I do. And definitely let me know if you actually use this to set up your own Detolfs, because I would love to be able to help you guys out in that way. Go ahead, remember to like, comment, and subscribe. And that's going to do it for me. I should have a live unboxing of a new hot toy I'm getting this week, probably on Thursday, or it's probably in a past video if you're watching this way off in the future. And there should be another Hot Toys review coming here very shortly, so make sure you guys subscribe, don't miss out on that. And once again, that's going to do it for me this evening. Thank you guys so much for checking out these videos, and I'll catch you guys later. See ya.